All right, culinary students, let's learn how to use these ovens. So first things first, what we're going to want to check before we even turn it on is, are the oven racks in the position that we want them to be in? So if I open up the oven door, I can see that they're in a middle position for my cookies. So if I was doing 2 pans at a time, I can rotate them. They should bake very nice and evenly. I'm also going to check the bottom of the oven too. I want to make sure that there's not any gunk, food debris, anything that lays in the bottom that could potentially be a fire hazard, because that would not be good. So everything is looking pretty good right now. So I would say we're ready to start. So we'll shut the door, and now we're going to come up here to this top where the buttons are. So, whoops, there goes my keys. So if I'm looking at the face of the stovetop and oven, I can see that I have a lot of different buttons to push from. So I have my oven light here. So if I want to look into the oven window and see things a little bit clearer, I could definitely work with that. If my clock time was wrong, there's a clock button here that I can push to help me set the time if that's something I would want to do. Self-clean is one that we will not use here, simply because we scrub our ovens out because we need them at a lot quicker rate. Usually that self-clean button, you're looking at anywhere from 4 to 8 hours for it to run its course, and we just don't have time for that in our classroom. The lock button is a nice child safety feature. So if I wanted to make sure kids are staying out of the oven, they're not pushing buttons, doing things like that, I can actually push that button, and then if they were to touch controls, it's not going to let them turn anything on, which is a really great child-proofing child-proofing strategy that you can include in your oven and stove. So that means I'm down to these buttons here. So I have my bake button, broil, and warm. Okay. Bake is the one that we're going to use when we're doing our cookies, our muffins, our biscuits. If I was to do things like casseroles, just anything that's needing baked. Broil would be for completely different recipes. If I was maybe trying to do some kind of paninis, or if I'm trying to melt some cheese really quick, something that's more like toasting at a really quick rate and heating it up, that's what I'm going to use broil, and we're not going to use that button here. Warm, if I want to keep my food warm, that would be the button I use, but we're not going to do that here either, because the food that we make, we're going to want to pack up and take with us, or we're going to want to eat it. So those 2 buttons, nope, we're not going to use them. So I'm going to come back over here to bake, and when I push this button, notice it wants to set the temperature to 350 degrees. We need 400 degrees though for our temperature. If this shows up, it's just telling us to push start to get it going. So if you're like, no, I didn't get my temperature right, that's okay, just push bake again, and we're going to hit this up arrow until it says 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Then I got to push start. Notice how this little on diamond is appearing. That lets us know, yep, the oven is on. It's baking. The temperature is 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and it is in fact on. Now, some of you are saying, wait a second, Danielson, you said we're using 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're absolutely right. What it's telling us right now is that the internal temperature of the oven is 100 degrees currently, and now it's going to start climbing up to reach 400. And this can take some time. So that's why when we come back to the kitchens to use ovens, we want to preheat right away, because sometimes this can take 5, 10, even up to 15 minutes to get it to the temperature we need. So if we're forgetting to do that, and all of a sudden, yeah, our cookies are ready to go in the oven and bake, what if your oven's not? Well, now you're really going to be struggling with time management, because you have to wait for those temps to heat up. If I stuck my cookies in at these temperatures while it's heating, it's just going to melt my dough into a puddly, slimy mess on my baking sheet, and I'm not going to have good product quality. So we want to make sure it gets all the way up to the temperature that we're setting it to. That is how we turn on the oven. Next up, I'll show you how to use the timer.